Domanda lì, prego.
Mi sentite? Sì. Volevo chiedere al signor Tanovic questo. Mi sembra che un altro tema affrontato dal film, sia pure forse in maniera marginale, è quello del ruolo dei media nei conflitti di oggi. La scena in cui il protagonista, per fotografare il giovane prigioniero, ne provoca in qualche modo la morte, mi sembra che alluda al fatto che oggi i media sono spesso accusati di condizionare con la loro sola presenza lo svolgimento dei combattimenti. Questa almeno è l'impressione che ho avuto io. Volevo sapere dal signor Tanovic se è un'impressione esatta. Grazie.
Yes, very much. I'm gonna answer you in two ways. First one is Petr, a friend of mine. He loves quantum physics, and he explained me that by not observing quants, you would get one result. By starting to observe them, you would affect actually the result of observation. And quantum would react in a completely different way. Would show up in a place it usually wouldn't. So I think everything is interconnected in the world anyway. I and Bosnians actually I think we're the examples of how media can save people. I think war in Bosnia would be much more terrible if there was not for media, if there was not for the guys who came, made photos, talked about it. One of them became world famous, Christiana Amanpour, CNN. She became a name somehow because she was in Bosnia. You would watch her every night on CNN telling what's happening there. So yes, media have a big role. My big question, which I also asked in No Man's Land, is how deep do you go into this? I don't see it very often. Thank God, still are guys like Scott Anderson who goes to Lebanon and then writes big article, 5-6 pages, trying to really go into the issue, into what he's talking about. But this whole thing about objectivity, and how media tries to be objective, I don't believe in that anymore. I think we're all subjective, we all have our, you're Italian, you can't help it, I'm Bosnian, I can't help it. I see world through my eyes, you see it through yours. So knowing that, I think we have to take a moral stand. That thing of, neutrality reminds me somehow of United Nations, things that they try to do. Well, I don't believe in neutrality, sincerely I don't. I believe in fairness, which is a completely different thing. Neutrality, it's kind of difficult, and it also applies for media. But, there are other issues, like media making money. So what do you publish, what do you don't publish? The way we function today is like, give us a scoop. And by giving a scoop, sometimes you can make a wrong story, because it's a scoop, and you can put an accent on something that's actually not really important. So yes, media has a big role, but it's also diminished in a way. It's not because we have more information that we know more about things. That's what I find very frightening in the world today. You can get any information you can, doesn't mean you know more. I prefer much more the old-fashioned way of, guy goes in, gets 2 and 2, writes an article of 5 pages and then stands behind it, and there's his name and he thinks this is the way it is. And, compare this to a telefax news, this and this happened, where you don't get, you don't get anything. So, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did. But I really have a lot of respect. Enormous respect for these people, because I know what they go through, and I know that you can't go in those places, come back, and say it doesn't affect me, because it does affect you. It affects your life in every way. I remember going. I mentioned it. I remember after war, I went to Kabul for like 3 or 4 days, which was nothing. I just went there, tried to find some architect, tried to find a place, and I came back, and I remember at that time I was living in Paris. And I did nothing, I haven't even seen war, nobody shot at me. I was just in Kabul, which, just happened to be freed, and came back, and I remember needing like 2 weeks to come back to reality of this ordinary, normal life that I have, family life, my wife, my kids, my work. So, it does affect you.
Scusate, prima di ridarvi la parola, io volevo